Hey everybody, it's Faiz Versey and welcome. I'm a real estate broker with LePage in Ottawa, and I'd like to speak with you today about the latest statistics in respect of the housing market in Ottawa, and the month we're referring to is May 2020. So my friends, if you watched my update as of April, then you'll remember that I had said we had had a decline in the unit sales. I'd also mentioned that I think that the data at that time was as a result of a frozen up market, so it was really kind of misleading, and I didn't see that trend continuing. Of course, I don't know the future, nobody knows the future, but all I can give you is a reasonable analysis, being down on the ground, being that I eat, breathe, sleep real estate. So the information that I was getting through osmosis and just being around is that we were in the state of shell shock March and April when COVID first hit us here in Ottawa, and that things are going to improve as we go along. And at the moment, that's exactly what we are seeing. So in May, we have seen the unit sales move up. All right, now, is this trend going to continue? I don't know. 1 month doesn't make a trend. That's 1 month. Another month here doesn't make a trend. We'll have to wait and see. So let's look at the average sale price. I missed a graph there. Again, if you ever want to see my explanation of what all of these graphs mean that I'm going through, please go and see my video for October 2019, and that will give you a great explanation as to what all these graphs mean. But for now, for the sake of moving along and giving you the goods in a reasonably quick time, I'll try. I'm going to skip a few graphs. If you have questions, you can always contact me. Phone me, send me an email. My information should be around somewhere on the page that you are watching this video. So as I'd mentioned again back in April, that this decline that we saw in average sales prices, I thought was just a blip. I didn't think it was going to be a continuing trend. And that's exactly what's happened. We've had an uptick in the prices. Friends, the reason for all of this, and we'll see more of that as we go along through the graphs, is that we've got an incredibly skewed demand and supply situation in Ottawa. Demand is up here, supply is down here. And even though in this shell shock of March and April we saw demand fall, we also saw supply fall. Now we're seeing both come back. Demand is coming up and so is supply. All right, we'll see more of that. But the gap is still there. The gap that's forcing the prices up. Do you see what I did there with my hands? So that is basically supply and demand. Supply and demand is everything you need to know about economics. I know a bit more than that because that's my job. But that's as far as you need to know, and the supply and demand situation is totally out of skew. Demand is high, supply is down here, and that's not expected to change anytime soon in Ottawa. So let me speak briefly to the aspect, or maybe I'll come back to it when I talk about what does all this mean. Okay, so let's see what else I can talk to you about here. This is a very interesting graph. It simply says that the bulk of the buying has been in this range, 300,000 to, I'll need my glasses for this. I think the number is 650,000. Yeah, 650. So 300 to 650 is where the bulk of the buying is happening in Ottawa. I'm going to compare this to what I saw in April. So just give me a moment while I bring that graph up. So my friends, this here is the graph for April. And what's the difference? If we take a close look, we'll see that the price range in May has been 300,000 to 650. The bulk here was 300,000 to 650 as well, absolutely the same. But interestingly, the pricing of over $1 million, it was at 1.8% of the market, so it had dropped to that level and it's come up again slightly. So the transactions over 1 million have started to grow again. That's all great news. It means that the market is starting to function again, I won't use the word normal because we are in a new normal. We have to accept that. And so it's not back to the old normal. We are slowly finding the new normal, and there will still be volatility. So again, let me just adjust my graph so we can carry on. Right, coming back to this graph, let's see what else I can talk with you about. Average selling time, which had continued to drop, went up slightly in May. That could be because of the extra measures that are now having to be taken for buying and selling of property. And so that could have created some delay in people going out and actually finding the homes that they want. But still, we are still in a very strong seller's market, as you will see. Nothing has changed materially. These are just some adjustments, some blips. And the word that I had tried to use in my previous video was, the word was aberration. I couldn't quite figure it out. But that aberration seems to be going away and we may be coming back to a normal situation. New listings taken, again, increasing. So what this is telling us is that, what is this? Total active inventory doesn't really tell us too much. It does, but I won't spend too much time on that. Inventory absorption rate is also going back down. All this is saying that in month of April, we saw the months of inventory go up slightly. It's come back down. What does this mean? I'll tell you in a moment. What this means is this. So we were in a seller's market back in March. Do you see where my cursor is? We had dropped in the month of April somewhat, but we were still heavily in a seller's market, and we're now back to a seller's market. What does this mean? Okay, folks, let's talk about what all this means. So what does all of this mean? So we're back in a seller's market. Seller's market means that we still have a dearth of properties for sale and a lot of buyers. So we still have a huge buying demand. And so this allows me to speak to landlords, to landlords, to buyers. And I also want to touch on the CMHC report that came out recently. Let's see what all of that means for Ottawa. So you have to understand Ottawa is a unique market, very different from other parts of Canada. So I'll talk to Ottawa. I don't have familiarity with other markets, like in-depth familiarity, but of course, if you need any help in any other market, Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, anywhere, please let me know through my extensive real estate salesperson network. I can find you anything, residential, commercial, and everything in between. And I deal with residential, commercial, and everything in between in Ottawa, so I can help you. So we're in a seller's market. I explained that. We have a dearth of properties. The demand is high. Prices are rising again. And what this means for landlords, or for sellers actually, I'm saying landlords because I recently did a video on the rental situation. Very interesting. You should watch that. I think it'll be on my list. Maybe I'll link it up if I get a chance. That was done for the month of May. So I want to give you a well-rounded idea of what's happening in the real estate market. So right now I'm talking about the purchase and sale market. So what we call the resale market, mostly, the resale market. Even new build prices are going up, but that's a story for another day. So here we have the resale market, and for sellers, that's great news because you can still command a good price. You still need to bring in a real estate broker like myself or a real estate salesperson so that we can accurately, as much as possible, price your property and give you all the steps that you need to understand and go through in order to get top dollar for your property. It's very complicated these days to sell a property. I may actually do a seminar on this called how would you sell? I mean, how does a person sell? What are the best practices to sell in this environment of COVID-19? I might do something like that in a video, but in the meantime, I'm here and available if you wish to call me and talk about that because it's quite complicated. So for landlords again, for sellers, great opportunities, excuse me, properly guided by a real estate broker like myself, or a real estate salesperson, you should be able to get top dollar for your property and in quick time as well. Now, for buyers, same old, same old. You better be buying a property today. Don't worry about what's going to happen to this trend if you're in this for the long term. If you're looking to flip, I don't really have much to say to you other than don't do it, okay? Trying to flip means you buy today expecting the property to go up again in 6 months. Who knows what's going to happen in 6 months, all right? But we know the long-term trend generally is up. Property is an amazing wealth-building proposition around the world, and especially I would just say around the world. I would say especially in Canada, everywhere in the world. If you're going to hold for the long term, 5 years, 7 years or longer, you're in a situation where, excuse me, in all likelihood, you're going to come out hugely ahead. And if you want to know more about that, watch another one of my videos. I think it was dated in October of 2019, or maybe slightly before, November of 2019, called Should You Invest in Ottawa Property? Fantastic video. It will clue you in on why you should buy property and not think twice about it. Just do it, okay? If you're going to hold for the long term, all of that is explained in that video. So my friends, what does this mean in respect of the CMHC report, the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation? I think I got that right. There's so many acronyms these days. They came out with a very interesting analysis that the housing prices across the board in Canada, they expected to drop by 18%. Okay, maybe. I haven't looked at the report. But Ottawa is a very unique market. As you can see already, we haven't dropped. This was, let me go back to the average sales price. We had this slight drop here, which, as I mentioned back in April when I was doing this analysis, that I think is an aberration. I don't think it's going to continue, and we're back up again. Now, again, I don't know. 1 month doesn't make a trend. We'll find out. But I'm giving you my reasonable analysis. So Ottawa is a very different ballgame. Let me explain why. We are government town, federal government. Is federal government laying off employees? No. Not only are they not laying off employees, they are going to grow as they've already been growing because the government wants to be in our lives more and more. But now they're really going to be in our lives. Why? Because of COVID. COVID has accelerated that whole proposition. Because now this is getting into an area, I'll have to do a separate video on this one, but I'm going to touch on it briefly. What Government of Canada has done is remarkable. You've heard me talk about this in my previous videos. They've saved us. They've saved lives in Canada. They've saved 30 million lives. If our population is 40 million, by all of their bailouts like the CERB, they have saved 30 million lives. My friends out there who are thinking of criticizing the government, don't do that. All right? Yes, we need to help the government, but not criticize them. Right now, we are all in this together. We all got to be in this together. We got to row in the same direction. Otherwise, our boat, Canada, is going to go nowhere. It may even sink. I'm going to do a separate video on that at some point to explain to all of my friends who are watching this. Friends, how do we get together and keep this country not afloat, but make it come back real fast, okay? Because we do have some headwinds. That's a different story. So what I'm saying right now is the federal government has to keep on growing because they're going to get even more involved in our lives because they have to do that. Government is the only one that can get us out of this mess. They have to save us. They know that, thankfully. They're the most amazing government in the world, I can say. If you read the stories around the world, you'll see that governments around the world who have been lax or have just not been educated about it or I don't know what, but they're not doing enough for their citizens and for their residents. But Government of Canada has not blinked an eye. They've just moved and they're going to have to do a lot more. We are not out of this COVID mess yet, okay? The stock markets are up and this is up and that could all be temporary when we come into the second wave, third wave. I don't know yet, but if that happens, because as we open the economy, what's going to happen? As people come into physical contact, what's going to happen? Are we going to have a second wave? Are we going to go back into lockdown? Nobody knows, but the government is prepared for that. So my friends, Ottawa is where the federal government lives. This is okay, I don't want to offend anybody, but this is where the brains of the country lives. Friends, I have great respect for the Government of Canada, what they've done, what I hear about other people. It's because these people are extremely smart. I don't want to second guess. I don't have the qualifications or the intelligence to second guess what government is doing. They're doing amazing things, all right? And that brain power lives here in Ottawa. I know why. I interact with these people. I interact with people from government, from federal government. They're extremely bright, extremely educated. And so this contingent of brain power of people, of humans in Ottawa continues to grow, will continue to grow in my estimation. I don't know the future, my friends. So don't hold me to any of this. This is all my estimation. And if that happens, Ottawa's population keeps growing. Our housing market is different from the housing market anywhere else in Canada. Do you get it? That was the whole point of this huge spiel right now. So it may be 18% overall down somewhere else, and CMHC has also tightened their lending conditions. I do believe you'll check that with a mortgage broker or give me a call. I'll put you in touch with somebody who can help you with that if you're looking to get a loan. But the thing is, our market in Ottawa is quite different. So when it comes to Ottawa, please talk to somebody who lives right here, who is local, and who understands the pent-up situation, the pent-up demand for both for buying and for selling. And we can guide you as to what you need to do if you're a seller, what do you need to do if you're a buyer. I hope all of that helped you. My friends, I've thrown a lot at you. If you like the video, please give me a like. That's great because when you interact with the video in some way, you like it, you share it, it increases the viewership. I would appreciate that. And as well, join my email list. Sometimes, I don't know how long I'll be on this platform that you're watching this. Maybe they'll throw me off someday. So we can still keep in touch. If I have your email address, send me an email that says, send me the information. And I will be able to keep you in touch. I will be able to keep in touch with you in respect of that. Again, any questions, please feel free to give me a call. And I look forward to being in touch with you and letting you know more about what's going on. So until I speak with you again, my friends, take care. All the best. Bye-bye.